All right, so welcome everyone. This is Monday, the 24th, so second week of our 8-week term. So welcome everyone. We'll get started. So let's go ahead and start with the warm-up. So let's just start looking left to right. Right here, we have a full body workout today. Most of the movements are going to be paired up into supersets. So upper body and lower body movement. Up and down. Neck circles. Switch. Go ahead and do just angels right here. We got Cherise, Debbie, Miss Noor, Wayne, Suzanne, Josefina, Sherry, Sarah, Lisa, Mr. Ahmed, Ella, Sandra, and we got Ms. Vargas. Hello, everyone. Yeah, bring that right arm across. Went camping out there by San Luis Obispo area on the coastline. Got there Friday afternoon and got back home yesterday evening around 6 p.m. About a 5-hour drive. But yeah, it was beautiful. Got some nice hiking, a nice run, um, nice couple runs, and then switch. Um, yeah, I mean it's camp eating, so a lot of sandwiches and hot dogs and chips and snacks. So eating wasn't the best, but yeah, we got I think between the 36 hours I was there, I got a total of close to like 20 miles of, either walking, hiking, or running. So it's a nice little getaway. I think we all enjoyed it, the group that went. I had a couple folks camp for the very first time. And we're about a quarter mile away from the ocean, so our tents were pretty wet in the morning just from the moisture in the air. It was fun. So ab circles. Big hula hoops. So just a reminder, this is our census week. So census week, we're supposed to just check who's been active and who hasn't. And by the end of the week, if someone hasn't been active or logging in, we're supposed to drop them. So all of you are in here, so you won't be getting dropped. But if you have any friends that are enrolled that shown up, let them know before they get dropped. Or if you have any other classes that which that you've enrolled in but haven't had a chance to log in, just try to log in or say hello to the instructor because by the end of the week we're supposed to make drops. Your quad stretch, got right above your ankle and pull back. Yeah, so on the way up this mountain, it was a 2 mile hike, or 2.5 miles. But on the way up, we were hiking it, and I was realizing that I should probably get back to the campsite switch, since we had to leave soon. So I started jogging down, and yeah, so on my way down, it took me about a third of the time. Took about an hour to get up and about 20 minutes to get down. But on the way down, I ran into my college roommate's friend or roommate from not too long ago, and he's a professional runner for Nike. But I blanked out when I ran into him. So he was going up and I was going down, and I blanked out his name. I completely forgot. Let's do a hamstring stretch. Grab your hands down your shins.
这么好看的，看得都笑。
So yeah, so I was jogging down and he was jogging up. And when I finally remembered his name about 5 seconds after I saw him, he was gone. You know, he's a professional runner, so there's no way I was gonna catch him. Um, but I messaged him later in the evening, and yeah, I haven't seen him in like 6 years. And so we have some folks that are not muted. Um, but yeah, it was him. He had this crazy mustache. He was known for this crazy mustache that he had, and he didn't have it anymore. Let's try to straighten out your knees. So I wasn't too sure if it was him or not, but yeah, it turned out to be him. But yeah, it's just funny. Like the middle of nowhere, ran into some folks that you know. On the way up. Let's go with the deep squat. So just wide stance. And drop your hips. Did anyone ever come across a friend or someone they know at a random location, random time, maybe out of state or out of the country? Shift your weight left to right. And go ahead and grab your ankles and just extend your hips. Do about 3 or 4 more. Very good. Awesome. Okay, so we'll get started with the workout. So just as far as equipment, items we're gonna need today, dumbbells, a chair. If you have a kettlebell, go ahead and grab a kettlebell, yoga mat, and that should do it for today. So go ahead and grab me those items. Give you about 2 minutes to prep. First, that's gonna be with the chair, and we'll do the yoga mat later. So our first step, we're gonna do our standing or sitting neutral shoulder press. So that's gonna be with the heads of the dumbbells facing the camera or facing right in front of you. And we're gonna be pressing. And then our second movement is gonna be a good morning. Okay, so good morning. The new movement, so it's gonna be for your lower back. So there's two variations to do this one. You can do it just kind of putting them here. Legs are straight, back is straight, and you're sticking your hips back, keeping your back straight, and then coming back here, okay? So you can just hold it here, your back remains straight, and then come up. If that seems like a bit much or like it could irritate your back a little bit, you can do it sitting down. Then you would just wide stance or wide foot placement here. Your back is nice and straight. Dumbbells are right between your legs, and then you just kind of keep your back straight. And then come up. Okay. It's gonna be definitely a lot easier, but a lot safer too. If you aren't comfortable with your back being straight. So there's those two options. Okay, so again, if you're here, you're just keeping it straight. No. Okay, so if that's you could do this. Then go for that one. And if either of those just seem very odd, then let's go ahead and just do our rows, okay? So I'm good with any of those options. Alrighty, so let's go with our neutral shoulder press. You guys ready? We're doing 10. Okay, go. So full extension, dumbbells come all the way down. Down. And we're gonna take about 20-second rest, 20 to 30 seconds rest between most. So try to remember this one. You could have your dumbbells here. Okay, or you could sit down and do that motion. But we're just trying to keep our back straight and just doing this. So most of the stress is gonna happen on that lower back, okay? Okay, so ready? 10 to 12. Ready, begin. Light bend at the knees. For that stretch. Getting next to the mirror just so I could check my form myself. But yeah, looks like I got it going pretty good. That's 7, 8. You might feel it on your hamstrings a little bit too. Well, so I don't know if those were a little bit challenging. So now we take our minute rest. I don't know if those were challenging because my back is sore or because it's just a foreign movement, but how'd that feel, Debbie, for you?
It was fine. I could use heavier weights, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, usually I think for something like that, sometimes it's the bar. So like the big bar that people just hold here. So the arm position's a little bit more comfortable because most of the weight's also on your shoulders, not so much on your arms. Yeah, but if you could rest it on your shoulders and just come down, that'd be great. So, all right, we have 10 more seconds. We'll start with the shoulder press again. Neutral shoulder press. Ready? Second set. And begin. Again, we're here. They're all the way up, all the way down. The full extension. Count. Okay, come at 8. This was a count. Well, okay. 12 for that one. Down. 20 seconds rest in between the smaller sets. And second set of good morning. So we only have 2 rounds of this one, okay? Grab those weights. Get from here. So I'm just kind of resting them here. And feet are nice and straight. My hips come out. My back is straight. Hamstrings. 2. 3. 4. 5. Number 10 and 12. Yeah.
Julio,
Yes.
what muscles does that work out?
So the emphasis is going to be on your hamstrings and your lower back. So if you have a slight bend at your knees, it should mainly be your lower back. But if your legs are completely straight, then there's going to be of this angle of like, your hips come back. So your hamstrings are getting lengthened. And as you're going forward, your lower back is getting lengthened. So yeah, so it just depends on your knee position, really. So if you have them relaxed a little bit, it's gonna be more your lower back. And if they're completely locked out, which I was doing, I was feeling it on my hamstring too. So yeah. Did
Okay.
that cause pain to anyone or discomfort?
No, not at all.
Yeah. I know in when I was in high school, long time ago, we were trying to show off, right? So we would always have heavier weights. And I remember a couple kids getting injured because of the weight was too much. So instead of them keeping their back straight, which you need to, they were arching their back. So that was causing some neck pain or some back pain. So the main thing is just doing that form correctly because again, I only had 10 pounds total and I could feel that. So, and again, everyone has different flexibilities or just your muscles work a little different. So yeah, maybe you could go a little bit heavier, but as long as there's no pain, you should be okay. So moving on to our second superset, we're gonna do dumbbell reverse curls. So again, just doing this motion, a little bit opposite from your traditional curls. So reverse curls is gonna work on your grip a little bit, your forearm, and also the side of your arm. And we're gonna do a dumbbell goblet lateral lunge. So holding the dumbbell or kettlebell here, and you're gonna reach and then drop your hips. and then alternate still. Okay, so we're working on our adductors and abductors. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 rounds, and we're doing 10 of the reverse curls, and then 6 and 6 for the lunges. Okay. Ready? Oh, and again, another thing for the reverse curls, I usually, instead of wrapping my thumbs around the dumbbell like this, I usually go over. So I have a little bit, I'm less restricted with my grip. So if you have your thumbs around, more than likely your dumbbells are gonna go out, but if you have them over, you can just keep them straight. Ready? Begin. So again, 10 of these, full extension. There, get our rest in. 30 seconds rest. Um, sorry, I'm laughing at my neighbor. We hang out here and there, and we just got back from camping last night, and now they're going camping from today until Friday. So they're camping a lot longer, and the ring camera went off, and he was giving my wife some, I guess they had extra like mixers for their camping trip, so he was giving her the extra mixers they had. Kind of funny. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna go with the lateral lunges. So we're gonna hold the goblet squats here. Okay, and we're gonna go here. So this one's very important. So usually the number one mistake I see is this here when people do this and they just lean. So no, you wanna step and then sit back. Okay. So we're doing 6 on each side. So reach, sit back, torso's upright. So you can see from the side angle. Here, keeping my torso up. The idea is to lengthen the hamstring and the glutes on this one. Good. Get our minute rest. Yeah, so on that one, when you reach, right here, you're gonna get a little stretch here. As you're sitting down, this is lengthening, so you're gonna feel a stretch here on your hamstring. And as you're sitting back, if you're doing it properly, you should feel that hamstring behind you going into your glutes also working. So, and this one you can make it more challenging by grabbing or holding a heavier dumbbell or kettlebell. So, yeah. And I guess if you have some weights too, if your arms start getting tired, you could really hold the weights down here too. As long as the only thing with that compared to the goblet is when you're holding it on goblet style, you're more likely to keep your torso upright. Whereas to keep them down, there's some likelihood of you leaning forward, which we don't want. So we just gotta pay attention to those little cues. All right, reverse curl. Ready? You have 10. Give me 12 if you're feeling good. There you go. Happy rest. There you go. Your lateral lunges. So again, you can go heavier if you like. Ready, begin. So 6 on each side. You're reaching, and you're bringing those hips back. A minute rest. All right, so the next we're gonna be on the floor. We have sit-ups and we also have Jane Fonda's, okay? So yeah. Actually, we're gonna switch that up. So we're gonna stay on our feet. So we could work a little bit more on balance. We're gonna do our cross instead of the sit-ups. Just gonna leave it on that. We're gonna go standing. So from here, elbows are on your head like so. And you're gonna come and bring elbow to knee. Okay. So, and try to make it more about bring your shoulder towards your knee, okay? Because I think anyone could kind of do this here. So try to bring more of like your shoulder to your knee. You can really get your obliques. And then instead of a laying Jane Fonda, we'll do a standing Jane Fonda, which is also going to work on balance. And for that, we're going to do 10. So that's just going to be right here, in and out. Working the same muscle as a Jane Fonda, but we're also working on balance. Okay, so 40 seconds. Let me start this timer. 3, 2, 1, go. So again, shoulder to knee. Just drive that knee up. We're coming across. Twelve more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. Good stuff. Seconds rest. So yeah, so standing hip abduction. So for that one, if you have ankle weights, if anyone has ankle weights, this would be one for ankle weights. So you would just put them around your ankle and you would just kind of raise, come back. I don't want you to tape your dumbbells to your ankle. Probably not the safest thing. But yeah, let's do 10. So again, you're standing straight. Let's work on the right leg first. Toes are pointing the camera and begin. So try not to lean too much. So raise it as high as you can and control it on the way down. Debbie. See, yeah. So again, working on balance here. And you can feel the leg that's upright, working on that adductor. Great. Switch. Once you're ready, do the 10 on the other. And if you're keeping your hand on that leg that's not moving, you could feel it stiffening up as that other leg is elevating. Get a minute rest. 50 seconds rest. Grab some water. Most of our reps will be 20 seconds or 50 seconds. Only 5 seconds. Okay, we're back with our crunches. Okay, ready? 40 seconds. In 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, keep it going. Got 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Mm, hip abduction. Another way you can make this one more challenging, it's if you have the mini bands that go around your ankle, but you would need one that's pretty light, not the ones with a lot of resistance, just the like the lightest color one, so you could add resistance to that. So you would just put them here, and you could try those out if you want to. So let's do 10 on each leg. Ready, begin. I'm looking around and I just have the big heavy ones. It's pretty tough to do um, this movement with the heavy resistance bands. Yeah, so when we camp out in Kern River, we always have to watch out for raccoons. I mean raccoons, for skunks. Switch. And at this place in Morro Bay, it was raccoons we had to watch out for. Um, every night there's two of them that live not too far from where we stayed, and my wife caught one of them. Well, two of them in her trunk. We left the trunk open with some snacks, and they were going through it. So, and the kids just thought they were cute, you know. One more. Ooh. By the last few, this leg started getting tired. As I was racing, it was this leg that got tired. Awesome. All right. Great. So next one is we're gonna go with an inchworm. So an inchworm, you can do an inchworm or a mountain climber. Okay, so we're gonna do 40 seconds. So mountain climber, you just be on your hands and you march. Or you could do an inchworm, and an inchworm would just be crawling into a hand plank and coming back. So that's an inchworm. But before we get to that, we're gonna do a tricep overhead extension. So dumbbells here over your head. Make sure when they're behind you, they're not making contact with your back or your neck, and you're just extending. Okay. That's gonna be the movement we're looking for. And then, like I said, the next movement will be the inchworm or mountain climber. So we're gonna start off with the triceps. Ready? We're gonna do 12 of those. Grab those dumbbells. Over your head. Ready, begin. Good. Go with the mountain climbers or the inchworms next. Okay, we'll start in 10 seconds. So if you wanna get in position, I'm gonna do mountain climbers. So if you wanna do inchworms, just be on your feet. 3, 2, 1, go. So 40 seconds. Play there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Okay. Good. 50-second rest. Some water. Tricep kickbacks. You could also do these sitting down. So you're getting tired. Remember, same motion. So just behind your head. And begin. So just fully extend. The only movement should be from your wrist to your elbow. It should just be lengthening at the forearm. And we're down to our inchworms or mountain climbers. 40 seconds for each one. All right, either one. We'll start in about 5 seconds. You're gonna get in position. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. 20 seconds. 30 seconds. Almost there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. We have our dumbbells, underhand arm lift. This will be our next one. And then after that, we're gonna do our single, that's for Wednesday, our single leg. This is gonna be our regular Romanian deadlift. So that's gonna be a slight bend at the knees, holding the dumbbells down and then coming up. Okay. So that's gonna be our Romanian deadlift. Ready? So we're going with our underhand front raise. We're doing 12 right here and begin. So come up and down, up. 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And our next one is our Romanian deadlift. So that's going to be slight bend at the knees. Anything that you're using your legs, you usually could go a little bit heavier with weight. So again, if you have heavier equipment, go ahead and opt for that. So again, feet together, slight bend at the knees. And we bring our dumbbells or kettlebell down and then up. Ready? Okay, begin. We're doing 12. So about 3 seconds on the way down, another 3 seconds on the way up. This one you should definitely be feeling on your hamstrings. Ten right now, or doing 12? Seconds rest. How's everyone doing? Good. No aches, no one's hurting from anything. Hopefully no recent injuries.
Everything good.
All right, who was that? Carmen. Okay. I got worried. My first run at camp at 3 miles, my right calf was cramping up. And then I finished my run and my right hamstring was cramping up. And I was thinking why is this happening now? I'm supposed to run 12 miles on Saturday the next day. And I just looked back and all I had to drink, and I know this is terrible, I had 2 energy drinks on my way up. And then we stopped for tri-tip in San Luis Obispo. And I had, I think, another 1 or 2 sodas. So I was just running off energy drinks and soda, which is really bad. So the rest of the weekend, I just had water and I felt good. So pretty, pretty silly of me. But yeah, but that's what happens when you don't have plenty of water in your system. All right, so underhand front raise. Okay, go. Doing 12. So yeah, I needed those. Well, probably not both energy drinks, maybe just one, or coffee would have worked too. But a little bit after, I think right after Solvang, like Santa Maria area, still had about an hour to go. That's when I started getting sleepy, and yeah, but the sandwich is really tasty. Welcome.
Julio,
Yes.
do you wear different shoes running on trails than on the street?
Yeah, let me show you. So you could see, these are like my regular shoes. You could see the bottoms of them, kind of flat. And then these are my trail shoes.
Okay.
You could see they're a little bit more aggressive. And then this is the white area here is pretty soft. Just I could like put my finger through and you could it sinks in a little bit. And then these it's just solid. So usually a good trail shoe is also gonna have like a rock plate guard. So or a plate guard in the middle or something really solid because if you're on the trails, there's either really jagged rocks that are pointing up that could go through this easily. I mean, I've had little wood chips go through there and poke me at the bottom of my feet. So yeah, so when I run in trails, and you also got to remember that these shoes, some shoes are made to correct your form. So they have extra support. But when you're in the trails, trails are so uneven that any support it's not really going to correct. So sometimes the support could throw you off more. So these don't have that support, but they do protect you from the bottom. But you could kind of see how this one kind of goes up a little bit higher than the rest of the shoe. So that's made so your ankle doesn't roll in so much. But yeah, so I would recommend, especially if you're out on the trails a lot, get a trail shoe. So do you go out there, Debbie, a lot?
What?
Do you go out to the trails quite often?
Not anymore. I would like to try it, do it again. So,
Yeah, I would get some. Yeah. Let's do our RDLs. So flat bend at the knees and down. And even right now, I'm wearing my gym shoes. So the shoes I'm wearing right now are a little different too because these are completely flat, almost like Converse, but they're wider on the toe box. So yeah, because you don't want to wear, I definitely wouldn't recommend wearing just one pair of shoes for walking, for the trails, or for the gym. Like I know all of them are working out activities, but they all require your feet need to be pretty stable when you're lifting, and um, and they have to be pretty well protected in the trails. And then when you're walking, you want it to be comfortable, but also have support. And it's going to be really tough to have a shoe that complements or supports all of those three different activities. So, and if you are using a shoe for all of that, just pay attention to the wear on the shoe because, yeah, shoes also aren't made to last forever. Usually, running and walking shoes are about 300 to 500 miles. And you might think, well, I'm never gonna walk 500 miles, but you'd be surprised on on a busy day, you're just doing your errands and, watching little ones. You easily get anywhere between 6 to 10 miles. You go to a theme park, you go to Disneyland with the family, you might get 12 or 15. Okay, so a little bit of balance work here. We're gonna go ahead and do for our upper body, front and lateral raises. We're doing 8 of each. And then for our lower body, we're doing our balance. So extended and come up and back down. Or you could bring that to a little bit closer. So we're doing front raises, lateral raises first. Ready? And begin. So 8 here. Very much 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8. Okay. Let's see. This one, we're gonna do 6 on each leg. You're sitting down. You need more of a challenge, you can hold the dumbbells at your side, but we're gonna do single leg, so leg is extended as far as from you as possible, or just bring it a little bit closer. Ready? So, I'm gonna start about halfway, and then come up, and we're doing 6 on each leg. You 50 seconds rest. So after this set, I believe we only have the hip car, which is the movement on the floor. But that's more of like the hip mobility, so we could actually do it standing up. So we won't have to use our yoga mat today, so that's what we'll do. The hip car is just a little bit more mobility. Doesn't hurt to do it a couple times a week. All right, so front and lateral raises. Ready, begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or 6 single legs, so make sure you extend, or you could elevate too. Ready, begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good. All right, we can put our dumbbells to the side. We're gonna finish off with the standing hip car. It's pretty much a stretching hip complex. So remember, for this one, you could just, this is our last one, so it's more of like a, not so much of a strength, more mobility. So it's gonna be, you go over the lower part of your chair, or if you trust your flexibility and mobility, you can go over the taller part. Okay, So let's go 6 over 6 in reverse with the right leg. So total of 12. And then we'll switch legs. Ready? Okay, go. 1. Total of 6. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. And switch. 1. 2. 3. 4. Go ahead and sit down. And we're gonna finish off with our stretches. Cool. Good stuff. So let's go ahead, sit on that left hand, bring that right hand across. Which is good. And switch on that right hand. Front rotation, so just knees forward. Use the backrest of your chair and just light, gentle rotation. Good. Performance stretch. So left ankle on that right knee. Thank God for my wife this weekend being really close to me when I was putting away one of the new tents. I may have lost maybe part of my left thumb because I think, yeah, the new tent we got, it's one of those easy ones where you just like pull, like everything's together, so you just kind of pull and stretch the arms out. So we couldn't figure out how to close it. So I was just looking, there's no instructions on how to put it away. Push down on that left knee. It's just how to prepare it or how to set it up. So I was doing everything in reverse. And one of the things, it's one of those where like you pull the center, like um I guess the apparatus, and you lift up and all the arms just kind of collapse. So on this one, I had to like push down, but as I was doing that, one of the arms came and closed into me. But my positioning where I was standing, I couldn't lift it or reverse it. So if I was out there by myself, I was gonna be stuck. So I'm out there screaming her name, and she's like walking over slowly, and I'm like, hurry up. And sure enough, I had this nasty looking, I think it just pretty much made like the skin or whatever muscle under my skin was just crushed into my knuckle. So you could you could really see like my bones and every little thing on there. But yeah, there wasn't any blood or anything. It was just still a little numb. So I'm hoping there's like no nerve damage. Because I've had some nerve damage on one of my knuckles on my other finger, so a little scary moment. So I'm gonna be extra cautious at that tent now. Let's push down on that knee. Yeah, I think next time we go, I probably will make it an effort to go to Big Sur. Because it was nice, but I felt like there's just like a lot of downtime, just sitting around, which is, I mean, that's what camping about, like just hanging out. But yeah, but Big Sur being so close, I'd be silly not to go and check it out a little, explore a little bit more. So, but yeah, I think I want to go to that site at least once a year moving forward. All right, folks, so we'll conclude here. Any questions before we head out? Questions? All right, Carmen.